I never thought a book series about aliens would become my whole personality. But here I am. Hi everybody, welcome back to Mrs. Long Reads. Today we're going to be talking about probably one of my favorite series of all time at this point, wild and unhinged alien romance series called Ice Planet Barbarians. Yeah, I did a whole video explaining the plot of book 1. I would love for that video to get more love, okay, so I'm going to tag it up above. Today I thought I'd go a little bit more in depth and talk about my favorite books from the series. Now I'm going to be limiting this to my top 4 amongst the first 10 books, okay, because if I did it for the whole series, okay, that would just be impossible. All right, there is like 40 some books at this point. There's just no way. I'm gonna have to put limitations somewhere, okay? And really, one of my all-time favorites is book 12, but I feel like that kind of belongs in a category of its own. If you read this series, you know, okay? Let's get started on my top 4 books. Start at the bottom. Barbarians Taming. Now, putting this at the bottom, honestly, is really sad. Like, yes, it's in the top 4, but it still is sad to put it number 4 because I absolutely loved it. And if you ever wanted to get to know me in a book, like if you ever thought, Mrs. Long Reads, it'd be nice to know her personally, well, just read this book because me and Maddie, we're the exact same person. No. We're the exact same person. I've talked about this on TikTok a lot, but like, we're exactly the same. This is a book with a fat FMC. Yeah. Who is very boisterous. Yeah. And who ends up with the man who actually kidnapped her sister. And she's just very sexually liberated. Love that for her. And like, I love Maddie's energy, okay? In the fandom of IPB, there's lots of hate on Maddie, and I don't like it. Okay, I don't like it. There's people who try to argue that like she's not good fat representation. I wholeheartedly disagree. Okay, and you can't argue with me because I'm a fatty. We get a little hung up because she does have some moments of like insecurity. Mostly though, just by how other people treat her, it being like the only big lady, you know, in the tribe at this time. And 2, honestly, it's just the physical expectations of being on the ice planet, which requires a lot of walking in the snow. And she kind of feels like she slows people down. And honestly, that is so relatable to me, okay? Because no, I don't want to walk on an ice planet in the snow, especially comparatively to a bunch of skinny 90-pound ladies. Yeah, like I don't want that. Okay, I feel like that's a very realistic thing to be a little insecure about. Like, I'm not mad that she had the insecurity because she never says like, oh, I hate myself because I'm fat, or oh, I'm so angry at myself for being fat, I wish I wasn't fat. Like, she never says that. Real things that come along with being a fat girly. I just think it's very real. I don't know, I wasn't mad about that. Other people got annoyed with it. I guess that's all in your preference. I know some people, when it comes to fat characters, they really want to read about really just very positive representations of fatness, which I still think this is, okay? It just touches on some things that people will experience. Their romance, their chemistry was insane. Kidnapping her sister in the previous book to this, because he thought he was supposed to resonate to her sister. Turns out he was for the big girls. Yeah, he don't want that skinny bitch. He wants Maddie, okay? But he got a little confused with, he really wanted to resonate. He really wanted a family. He really wanted a partner. And he thought that her sister was the one. That ended up, if you read the book prior to this, you would know that did not end up working out for him. He doesn't actually pursue Maddie. Maddie pursues him, which I love that, okay? I love that. That's sort of different than a lot of the other IPB books. She kind of sees it as more of just like a sexual thing, you know? Like, she doesn't think they're actually going to fall for each other. But of course, you know, it happens. And it's just so lovely. I thought the story was so good. It was just everything, but I will say what really made me love this book was mostly just I love the female main character. And books oftentimes just have such sucky female main characters, and it was just so good to see one that like I related to so much. I was such a fan. And it has fat rep. You know, it had to go at the top of the list. Number 3 is Barbarian Mine. Okay, so this one's definitely one of the chunkier ones out of the series. They're all pretty small, but this one's actually a little longer. This one is about Harlow and Rook, okay? And I loved Harlow and Rook. If you like the Tarzan and Jane type vibe, I feel like you would really like Barbarian Mine. But essentially, Rook takes her when she gets kind of lost in the, Ice Planet. And he is actually not part of the tribe. And he definitely, as far as a male main character, has one of the most compelling stories by far. He actually was abandoned by a Sakui in the past and literally left to live all on his own. And he lived without the tribe. Like, he basically was someone that they didn't even know existed, a Sakui that they weren't even aware of. And he had made grand efforts to stay away from them because his father told them that they were evil his whole life. That has a whole backstory, which you'll have to kind of read in the book to totally understand. Completely on his own, and he resonates to Harlow, and he doesn't even really understand resonance. He barely even speaks. He doesn't know how to take care of himself. Like, he is such a sweet little blue alien. Okay, he really is. He's kind of helpless in a way, but also still very strong and fierce because he's had to survive on his own. Harlow just helps him in so many ways, and I love to kind of see, lots of times in the Barbarian books, you kind of have this strong male presence that just takes care of his human. That's the thing in these books. But in this, what I liked about it is that the dynamic definitely flipped. It was like she took care of him a lot because he had been so neglected, because like I said, he's like Tarzan. He was abandoned and left all on his own vices, even down to teaching him how to speak his own language. I'm telling you, she had to look out for this man. Okay, she took care of this man in this one, and I really liked that flip-flop, comparatively to the other books. And I don't know, there's something about Rook in this one. Harlow's cool, but there's something about Rook I just found so innocently sweet. I don't know, he did it for me. Y'all, I obviously look a little different. My battery went dead on my camera, then I got distracted because my husband came home with tacos and I had to smash some tacos, so my lipstick basically is non-existent, but we're still here, okay, with Barbarians Prize. So Barbarians Prize is about Saluk and Tiffany. This one is book 4 in the series. My gosh, what's crazy is when I read it the first time, I didn't put it as high as I do now. And I reread it, and then I was like, whoa. I don't know if maybe I just wasn't paying super close attention the first time or what it was, but when I reread it, it just meant everything to me, and I just realized I was really not giving them the credit they deserved. So Tiffany is an SA survivor, and at least at the point of the first 10 books, this changes later, but at least at the first 10 is the only black character in the series. An SA survivor, I really feel was an essential component of this, and definitely kind of was the catalyst to show just how gentle and sweet Saluk is as well. He had to be very patient, the most patient of males, as they say, because she was traumatized. She was one that got SA'd on the original spaceship where they were abducted, and she has a lot of trauma from that, and he was just so understanding to her, and just the trust and vulnerability between these two was just so unmatched. Loved it. It just gave me all the warm and fuzzy feelings. Okay, and if you buy the paper copy, there is a really fun special continued little novella at the end about them two that you don't get when you read it on the Kindle, and it was so great. Even mentioned that she sewed herself a bonnet, which was so cool. I love that with the Sakui leathers. She made herself a bonnet, and him trying to describe a bonnet was just the cutest thing ever. I loved it so much, and just the way he appreciates her. Okay, and he is just such a gentle little cutie. Okay, if you like gentle, sweet, soft men, you will love Saluk, okay, because he's just the gentlest and the most patient of males. Yeah, but even though he is so gentle and sweet, okay, when it comes down time to get down, he delivers, okay? Him and Tiffany do, and it's great. He's the perfect example of a man who can be possessive, because all the Ice Planet Barbarians, the Barbarian men, they're all possessive. It's just kind of part of their nature. But he is the perfect amount of being possessive in a sexy way, but also being gentle and kind and sweet. Yeah, you can be both. You don't have to be these dark romance novels tell you have to be. No, you can be nice and sweet and still be very possessive and protective. Coming in first place, the one that absolutely was my favorite out of all the first 10 books at least, Barbarian Lover. So many thoughts. So many feelings about Barbarian Lover. This is about Kira and Ahako. Ahako is like one of the only ones that's described with short hair, so I feel like he's super identifiable. And trust me, I have looked at all the fan art on Etsy, okay? And you can always pick out Ahako, okay? Because he's the one with the short hair. And honestly, I'm kind of biased. The reason I love this book so much was because this man reminded me of my husband so much. It blew me away. I feel like Ruby Dixon was just like peering into my life like she was some puppet master. And also this book unlocked a new trope for me that I didn't realize would be so amazing and so healing. Like I'd never read it in a book before. Is an anxious FMC, super positive, giddy, likable, upbeat, sunshiny MC. That's what this was. It was her having a lot of anxiety and being like a very anxious person about obviously the events that happened to her, because she was very traumatized by the event. But also Kira, if you can see, is illustrated here. She has this translator that the original aliens put in her ear, okay, against her will, and it kind of tortures her. She can hear stuff that other people can't because she was the one that was given this translation device, and it kind of tortures her. It makes her life really hard. She can't sleep. She's kind of miserable because of this device, and it just really, really perpetuates her anxiety problems that she already has. Yeah, Ahako's there just to save the day, okay, because he's cool as a fucking cucumber, okay, and that's like his whole thing. Like he tells her all the time just to live life to the fullest. Don't be worrying about stuff that you can't control. Like obviously so much has happened out of her control because like she literally was abducted by aliens and just put on this ice planet. But like he helps her like embrace her new life, and I just love it. Like it just reminds me of something my husband would do to me. Like this is something he says that just makes me die. The context of this is she's telling him she has fears and nightmares that these aliens that originally abducted her are going to come back and get her. Like she has nightmares about it. This is what he says. No one can predict what will happen tomorrow, Kira. I might fall off of a cliff and break my neck. I might catch queasy sickness. I might live to be old and grizzly like Kimley and her mate. He shrugs his big shoulders. But I do know that living in fear for what might happen prevents us from enjoying what we have today. Life can be sweet, even if you take it one day at a time. Period, King. Like he does this over and over again. Like he just constantly reassuring her, saying, look, you can't worry about this. You can't let yourself be tortured over stuff that's theoretical. And even though there is like a lot of drama that happens, the aliens, she's right, the aliens do come back for her, okay? But they work through it together in just the best way. And Ahako, on top of being a good partner for someone with anxiety, he also is flirty as hell. He's definitely the most flirty in this whole series. They're all flirty, okay? They're all flirty. He is top tier flirty, okay? And he's very confident. And I love that. Like, I just ate it up. He's almost like a himbo. Close. I'm not going to say he's stupid. There is this like thing about himbos being stupid. He's definitely not stupid. He actually becomes a leader of like this separate tribe. That's a whole storyline you'd have to read to understand. Has this air of like innocence and sweetness and pizzazz about him, and he's like just so lighthearted that being with someone like Kira, who's a lot more serious and anxious and worried, it was just such a cute little setup. And I ate it up because it reminded me a lot of my relationship, because that's us. Like my husband is the cool cucumber one, and I'm the one that was always rolling in as like just an anxious mess all the time. I'm like, if it was not for my husband, like I'm a changed person because I have my husband in my life, because he calms me down. He's my peace. And this is what this was. Like Ahako becomes Kira's peace in this. And that was kind of the concept of the whole book. And I just related that so much because that's how I feel in my relationship. So, I love Barbarian Lover. It is just one of my favorites. It is definitely, as far as the first 10 books, my favorite of the first 10. This one's going to be kind of a bonus. It still is one of my favorites, but I didn't include it in my main list because those were ones that I liked overall. Like just the story, both the characters, everything. This one was special to me, and I thought about making a whole video separately just for it because of one specific topic in it. I don't think overall, like all the characters and all the story was my favorite, but one component of this really touched me in a way, like it actually made me emotional. And I do just want to include it because I still do love it. Infant loss, particularly because that's a major theme in this, or just maybe like infertility and this. Oh Lord, let me not. I've never experienced infant loss, but I have had some very complicated maternal feelings as I've gotten later in my 20s. I don't know where it's come from, but I have this need to mother things, and I'm pretty sure I may not have an easy time getting pregnant that's a whole nother story for another day that I don't care to explain on the internet. She basically got pregnant but lost the baby, and she experienced intense, like very intense depression and grief over losing her baby. And what really connected with me, like on an intense level, was like her desire. Like she constantly struggles about like her desire to want to mother something. And I've had a lot of that intense feeling here lately in my life, and I understand how overwhelming it can be, and like you don't understand what to do about it or where to put that energy a lot of the times, and you feel like you shouldn't be sad about like not having something to mother, but for some reason you are. And like it's really moving. Like the way Ruby wrote that, I just thought was so special for people who may have a maternal urge like me that isn't being fulfilled and kind of feels sad about it for some reason. Someone who experienced infant loss or infertility, I really think you would love this, like just for this book alone. And I did like the characters, I liked the story, but I didn't love it enough overall to put it in the list. But I'm still gonna mention it. And then Himelo is her mate in this, and not only was the loss of the baby really, really obviously horrifying for Asha, but also for Himelo, it kind of really damaged the relationship. And this is about their rekindling after the events of losing the baby, and that's basically where this book picks up. And this is about their reconnection basically, because they pretty much split after it, because she was so difficult to handle because she was just a hot mess after it, which you understand as the reader. And I feel like another reason why I love this so much was because I am big into like the reformed villain trope. I've talked about this a lot on my TikTok and stuff. I love reformed villains, and Asha, if you read the rest of the series, is kind of the villain of the other stories. Like she's looked down on because she tends to have a sour attitude, but this kind of explains why she has this sour attitude and kind of gives her redemption arc. And I liked it. And also it was one of the first ones with a female Sakui, so that made it really cool too. So this book, there's just a lot to go into with this book. I wouldn't put it in my like top list, but I'd say it's an honorable mention. One good enough that I want to make a whole video just breaking down, like especially about the maternal stuff, because I just thought it was so good. Well, this has been a fun time. Make sure to check me out on TikTok and the rest of my YouTube videos, and tell me if you've read this series, which one is your favorite book and why. Do you agree with my list? Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.